Alright, hello guys, welcome, or if you've been to my channel before, welcome back. I am the Philadelphia Whovian, and with this video, it's going to be a list of my top 5 favorite / most watched stop motion movies. Stop motion is one of those, for me, genres of film that just has a very unique place in my heart. Ever since I saw it when I was a little girl, I've always loved watching stop motion. And it was a kind of a funny story when I first got into it, because the thing about stop motion, I can't explain it, but stop motion films are kind of weird. They're quite bizarre. But the thing about them is stop motion has the ability to take that bizarre, weird concept and make it work in a way I don't think any genre or any other type of film could make it work. Not even the old-fashioned, beautiful, wonderful, classic, animated movies back from the 90s that we all love so much. But yeah, stop motion is something I've always been really interested in and really liked watching. So I thought, what are my top 5 favorites? And for me, favorites are all about most watched. Because let's be honest, sometimes we get swayed by popular or unpopular opinion. We're like, oh, this is great because everybody loves it, or this is not great because everyone loves it. You know what? I don't care about that. I really don't. I don't care about what, is considered the best. I consider what I like watching the most. So, without further ado, guys, here's my top 5 favorite stop motion films. Before I begin, I wish to give an honorable mention. This I saw when I was in high school, and oh, I should be able to clarify. This is the top 5 of the stop motion movies I've seen. There are probably other stop motion movies I've not seen, and they're probably awesome. Just of the ones I have seen. And the honorable mention goes to a short that Tim Burton did, and I saw it when I had the special features to my VHS of The Nightmare Before Christmas. And it was called Vincent. It's a short because it's maybe at most 10 minutes long, and it's about a young boy named Vincent Malloy who dreams of being or thinking he is Vincent Price. And of course it's narrated by the legendary Vincent Price too. And for those of you guys who are like, who is Vincent Price? Oh, you've seen him before. Either you saw him as Baca in the Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston and Yul Brynner, or you heard his voice. You probably heard his voice. Because if you didn't see Ten Commandments, possible, you probably have seen the music video Thriller from Michael Jackson. That iconic music video, which is like impeccable and like one of the most iconic music videos. Remember, there was a narrator who narrated the creepy parts, and he laughed at the very end when Michael Jackson had the werewolf eyes. Remember that voice? That is the voice of Vincent Price, that beautifully creepy, deep, awesome voice. That is Vincent Price, and he narrated Vincent. And Vincent Malloy, a young boy who dreamed that he was Vincent Price, he would, in his deepest, darkest recess of his mind, he would go through all of the movies. Like, he would put himself in the roles of Vincent Price in all of Vincent Price's movies, and Vincent Price did the horror genre, I guess, really well, or the sci-fi creepy genre. So there was a wax museum where Vincent Malloy thought he was Vincent Price when he dreamed about dipping his aunt in wax for his wax museum, or of transforming his dog into the scary monster, and they prowled through the London underground in the fog. Yeah, so, and then it ends with a quote from The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Nevermore. That iconic word from the Raven poem. Nevermore. It is beautiful. Vincent is a very, very beautiful short. It's haunting, again, chilling, it's creepy, but again, stop motion does that so well, it does creepy. So that's my honorable mention, that short I saw with Vincent. So now for my number 5 slot of stop motion films. And we are now giving you Wes Anderson, The Fantastic Mr. Fox. Sorry for the glare from the light. Sorry about that. The Fantastic Mr. Fox. Okay, guys, I'll be honest. Either you like Wes Anderson or you don't like Wes Anderson. But I overall like Wes Anderson. He can make the awkwardness or awkward feel really, really entertaining. And this movie, I love the color scheme. I love the voices they got to play. You know, George Clooney, I was surprised, but he was a great, fantastic Mr. Fox. I don't hate George Clooney or anything. I'm saying I was surprised how good he was. And all the characters, again, the awkwardness, idea of the cuss, don't you cuss at me, the direction, just the, I think the pacing, okay, some people can consider the pacing dull. I like the pacing. I think it's perfectly fine. And the story of Fantastic Mr. Fox was taken from Roald Dahl's book, or Roald Dahl's book, sorry, the guy who wrote Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. That guy. In the Witches. Many other books. Sorry, I have a hard time pronouncing Roald Dahl, his name. Sorry. So Fantastic Mr. Fox follows the adventures of the Mr. Fox who used to steal chickens, and then he settled down when he realized he was having a baby with, you know, a fox cub, you know, or a baby, whatever, with his wife. And he settled down and he wrote a column in a newspaper. However, he's poor, he misses being wealthier, he misses the richer life, so he buys an estate, a treehouse, which of course is really expensive, he can't afford it, and he also wants to start, you know, robbing farms and stealing chickens again, which gets him into all sorts of trouble. And you have three farmers who, Bunks and Bean, there's a song about it, I'm trying to remember what the song is, but there's a song about these three farmers, these three separate cooks, though different in looks, are no less equally mean. And Michael Gambon is plays this voice for one of the farmers, and these farmers, oh my god, they're hilarious. They're absolutely hilarious. I mean, everything about this is hilarious. From, of course, I think, is it Chris Wilson actually did the voice for this, or was it Owen? I think it was Owen Wilson who was in this one, the voice of a gym coach, and of course Meryl Streep, she did the voice of the mother. There's just a lot of, and I believe Bill Murray was in this too. So, a lot of good voices in this. That was very awesome. I loved Fantastic Mr. Fox, loved the color scheme and the music to it too. It's just, Old Man River at the very end when all the animals are living in the, you know, the sewage system. I just like this story. I like this type of comedy. I do. So, number 5, The Fantastic Mr. Fox. Number 4 is a movie that, oh god, I wanted to see when it came out in theaters, but it was playing in no theaters near me at all. Kubo and the Two Strings. See if I can get a better view of it. Hopefully that's better. That's better. Kubo and the Two Strings. This movie is just beautiful to look at. Oh my god. Follows the story of Kubo, who, first time you see him, his mom is sailing along the water, and then something clearly is haunting her. She splits a wave with some music, and then she washes up on a shore, and Kubo is in the pouch that was in her bag, and he's missing an eye. Oh, poor baby. And his mom is slowly, like, losing her mind. Like, you see him later on when he's now a little boy, no longer a baby, and he earns money for the household by playing his, you know, guitar. And when he plays a guitar, he can make paper and make things move and create a story and image out of it. And it's beautiful to watch, beautiful. It's like, you know, origami, you know, moving origami. But he cannot ever stay out past dark, or his grandfather will find him. His grandfather's a powerful god, and here's a problem. His mother disobeyed her father's orders and fell in love with a man that her father wanted her to hunt. So that's why Kubo lost the eye, and that is why she was on the hunt. Sometimes his mom gets her mind back, and then sometimes she loses it again. Then she pretty much dies protecting him from her sisters, or Kubo's aunts, or her sisters, who are now pretty much searching for her because of grandfather, the moon. And, oh god, you feel so bad for Kubo when his mom dies. Then he's being looked after by the baboon, and then by, like, a beetle man. And it turns out the baboon is the last remnants of his mother's spirit. And Charlize Theron does a great job as the voice for both of these characters. All the voice actors were amazing in this. Again, it is a beautiful, beautiful story. Kubo and the Two Strings. Just very beautiful. Now, number 3. This is a movie I think, oh, that gets so overlooked, or maybe it's because it's a movie that, being stop motion, you think it was aimed at kids, but then it turned out it might be considered a little bit too adult for kids. But that's stop motion for you. Stop motion is a very gray area, and that is ParaNorman. ParaNorman! ParaNorman, I love ParaNorman. And it's because I'm at that age, I'm an adult, and ParaNorman just hits all the right beats when it comes to, the horror, the creepiness, / the comedy. There was even one reviewer who just said, honestly, this is not made for kids. And I personally think kids can take it. I mean, honestly, if kids saw Bambi's mom die, well, it was happening on screen, but they saw Mufasa die, they know Bambi's mom died. If you're not terrorized by Dumbo or Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, if kids could survive those stories, I'm sure they can survive ParaNorman, because those stories are actually very dark. And ParaNorman follows a little boy who has the gift of speaking and seeing the dead. And turns out he lives in this place where there was a witch from the back, the time of the witch trials, around the time of Salem witch trials, where they were hunting and killing anyone who had any remote seemed like they were witches at all. And it turns out the whole time the witch who was attached to this city, you see, it turns out he had to read from the book, but then something happened where it didn't work out, and she gets unleashed, and all this mayhem happens, and then they rise up, the ghost of the people who killed her, or the zombies of the people who killed her. It turns out who they kill, a little girl. Yeah. A little kid, and this stuff happened. In that time period, this stuff really did happen, where kids got murdered and executed under the law. Even kids were murdered. They were murdered simply for accusations of witchcraft. That is a true concept. And then there is the idea of ParaNorman, and there is this adult humor in it, but there's always been adult humor in kids' movies. That's just the way it always has been. So I personally think ParaNorman is absolutely incredible. Like the movies before it and after it, well acted, well directed, well shot, and the color scheme is gorgeous. ParaNorman. So for number 2, this is the one that's hailed as the greatest of the stop motion. This one really started all when it came to getting stop motion films on the map in our day and age, and that was The Nightmare Before Christmas. Yes, the beautiful special edition, The Nightmare Before Christmas. Do I really need to tell you what The Nightmare Before Christmas is actually about? Do I really need to? I mean, there is paraphernalia about this all over the world still to this very day. Either way, it's the story of Jack Skellington, the Pumpkin King, who is the man, the leader of, of Halloween, who sets the themes for and comes up with all the ideas for it, along with the mayor of the town. But this is Halloween Town. And he's sick of his job. He's sick of scaring kids and scaring people. He wants to do something different. Then he walks into this, with his dog, Zero. He walks into the woods, just contemplating his life, which we all do at some point, and he comes upon all these trees, and they all have something on them. Then he sees a Christmas tree, and then he goes into that one, and then he sees Christmas Town, and he wants to do Christmas. He wants Halloween Town to do Christmas one year, and then he gets the town to do it all. Then they kidnap Santa so he can do it, and of course Santa is completely terrorized by Oogie Boogie, and also you have Sally, and who helps Jack Skellington and tries to get him to wake up and realize, but he's a Pumpkin King, and she's in love with him, but she was created by someone else who, has dominion over her, but she keeps escaping, and then she runs away and says, that's it, I give up. The doctor of the town. So, then, of course, happily ever after, Sally does help to get Santa away from the clutches of Oogie Boogie Man, and Jack Skellington realizes that she cares about him a great deal, and he returns her affections. Which is a great idea. I like that. He didn't notice her at first, but over time, when she proved helpful to him, he proved to fall in love with her. And I like the idea, where the idea of falling in love with someone because they love you, That's really touching. That's a really strong thing to do. And Nightmare Before Christmas, this is where it started for me. This is the very first stop motion film I ever saw as a little kid. I did not see it in theaters. I wanted to, but because I was curious about it, but I didn't know what it was about, and my family wasn't interested in seeing it. So of course you only see what your family wants to see when you're a kid. So I didn't see it. Someone brought it into school because every week we had a movie day where a kid could bring a movie in and we watched that kid's movie. Someone brought The Nightmare Before Christmas in, and I watched it, and it stuck with me. I just oh my god, this movie is so incredible. It always stuck with me, and once I could afford to, I bought a copy of it myself. And I love it. I love it so very much. And this is how I saw Vincent and also the live action version of Frankenweenie. I never saw the stop motion Frankenweenie, but I'm sure it's good. Just haven't got around to seeing it, But oh goodness gracious, I love it. And you're all thinking, this is Nightmare Before Christmas. How can that not be number one? It should be number one. Guys, I'm pretty sure it should, but you know what? We're all subjective, and something about number one slot always will resonate with me. And the number one is Coraline. Oh my god. Coraline. Adapted from Neil Gaiman's book, Coraline, of the same name. Oh my god, this is incredible. Every shot just feels like award-winning. The voice actors are amazing in it. I believe you have Dakota Fanning playing Coraline. She does an excellent job. You have Terry Hatcher as the mother, and the other mother does an excellent job. The guy who plays the father and the other father, he did an excellent job. There was Ian McShane as the amazing Babinski. He was wonderful. And of course, Keith David was wonderful as the cat. Oh, perfect voice. And I know it's Dawn French. I want to think it's Diane Summer or Donna Summer. I forget her name. I'm so sorry. I should know her name. Last name is Summers. She also did the voice for the fairy godmother in Shrek 2. Great speaking of her voice. And Dawn French, she and Dawn French just worked off each other very well. Fun fact about that one is, in truth, the director, Henry Selick, who also directed Nightmare Before Christmas, he had them read for different characters. When he had Dawn French come in, she read for Miss Spink. And when Miss Summer came in, she read for Miss Forcible. Then he had them switch scripts after they read because something just didn't feel right with him. And he's like, I was surprised they didn't walk out on me. But they just switched scripts, and it turns out, yup, they were right for the second characters they read for. This is why callbacks are very important. You find out who is perfect for who. Thank you, Henry Selick, for showing people how it's done. Callbacks are important. You can't blame actors for miscasting them if you did not have them read before you cast them. Have people read for the characters. Honestly, it's not rocket science. Yeah. But either way, Coraline every shot was perfection. The directing was perfection. The acting was perfection. The costuming was perfection. The design, from the design of the characters to the set design, the lighting design, everything. Costume design, perfect. Just like Nightmare Before Christmas. And Coraline, like I said before, Coraline shows how stop motion is creepy, but stop motion makes creepy work so very well. And oh, sorry, I didn't tell the plot to this one. Coraline moves from where they lived to a whole different place. I know it's different than it was in the book because this is set in America. The book was set in Britain. And they move to this literally just very far remote place but the apartment building is called the Pink Palace Apartments. And when they move there, Coraline moves into a place where there are no other kids, because it turns out that usually it's not rented to people who have kids, because the woman who owns the Pink Palace, her sister, when they were kids, disappeared, and the one sister who stayed behind felt like her sister got taken by something, didn't know what it was, and then it turned out it was because there's this one small door in the apartment that Coraline and her parents move into, and it opens, and it was actually rats who actually would get in and out of it, and there was a key that let people into it as well. And when Coraline goes into it, she goes to a whole nother realm where there's the other mother and the other father. But it turns out the other mother, she invented all of this because she likes to lure kids away because she can eat on them. She eats up their lives by sewing buttons on their eyes. And she makes this whole world seem like everything perfect, everything you ever wanted, so she can kind of pretty much persuade the kids and lure them and persuade them to stay. Coraline was the first who didn't let the other mother put buttons on her eyes, even though her other life, her parents didn't pay attention to her as much as they should have. Oh, God. This is absolutely amazing. It really is. And I think people take points off of this adaptation because of the inclusion of the character YB, who was in the book. I totally understand why YB was in the film, but not in the book. Henry Selick was right to put him in the movie. And Neil Gaiman, the writer of the book, even understood this and said he understood this. Because he said YB was like a fool for Coraline, so that she could have someone to talk to. Because if there was no YB, she'd have no one to talk to, and she would just be talking out loud to herself. YB was able to give her exposition to the story, and he gave her someone to act off of. He was a great inclusion. He was absolutely a great inclusion. So I know Nightmare Before Christmas is the most awesome one. I love Nightmare Before Christmas, but honestly, Coraline gets my #1. There's just something about Coraline which does everything so well. I remember sitting down and showing this movie to my friend, and the opening credits alone made him absolutely amazed. He just sat there through the opening credits and said, "These opening credits alone are incredibly awesome, and they're award-winning." And they totally are. They're just like the best. Oh my God, like this movie, work of art. Just purely a work of art. And while there are other stop-motion movies like Box Trolls and Corpse Bride, I do enjoy those. I know people hate Corpse Bride. I think what happened with that was it came after Nightmare Before Christmas and people got their hopes up so high, there was no way Corpse Bride had a chance. I don't hate Corpse Bride. I'm overall fine with it. And with Box Trolls, I like Box Trolls overall. I just don't have the inclination to watch it as much as those other ones I just listed. So yes, guys, that is my top 5 favorite stop-motion films right now, and of the ones I have seen, with the honorable mention of Vincent. So guys, do you like stop-motion movies yourself? What's your favorite stop-motion movie? So, if you do have one, don't be afraid to let me know, or at least in the comment section, or just, think about it yourself and wonder, hey, what's the stop-motion film I absolutely love? Besides Nightmare Before Christmas, we all love that one. That goes without saying, So thanks guys so very much. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. And again, I am the Philadelphia Whovian, and I want to give a quick shout out to the Phillies. Sorry, I'm a Philadelphian. So Phillies, you guys are doing a great job in turning around. And initially I felt bad for the manager because I felt like people were really down on him. So immediately I'm like, he just got started. Why do you want him to be fired yet? He's still getting, still figuring himself out, still learning analytics. Don't work the best. So again, quick shout out to the Phillies, guys. You're doing a darn good job too. Love you guys. Thanks again, guys. And again, I'm the Philadelphia Whovian. I hope to see you all again sometime. Bye.